Welcome back to my life with plants. Today's watering day. I'm going to check out this Phalaenopsis. And it's still growing in its original pot with sphagnum moss. And look how healthy it is. These are its two newest leaves that are put out from the spring all the way through to the end of summer. So it's two nice big healthy leaves, and shouldn't be doing that, right? Shouldn't be growing that well because it's still in the sphagnum moss. But the trick is with sphagnum moss is that you got to let it dry right out until it's almost bone dry. Okay, so this, if I poke my finger in the bottom, I can still sense a little bit of moisture, just a little bit, and that's enough. It's enough for me not to water it. Don't get tempted. I don't know if you can see in there or not, but when I poke my finger in there, it's not bone dry. It still has a little water, moisture still in there. And the thing is with the sphagnum moss is that, yes, they do use it in commercial greenhouses where they grow them, but they let them dry right out too before they water them again. So that before you buy them, they've watered them, which is the part that tricks everybody into thinking that you got to keep it moist all the time, and they don't do that. They let them dry right out until they're bone dry. So if I poke the medium on the top, it should be crunchy. That's an indication that it needs water. You're not doing it any favors by watering it often, not when it's in sphagnum. That would be on a mount. So we're going to put this one back. It doesn't require any water. Really is turning into a jungle here. So yes, I was getting tempted to water. Yeah, this one was watered last week. Look at the length of these roots, these aerial roots coming out. So this has been doing much better. It only had 2 leaves left because, you know, it took me years to work out what I'm doing with these things. But it's well on its way to becoming a nice plant. So it is still moist, of course. And it will not need water for a few weeks, now that it's autumn. You don't mind, we've got some background sound there. Okay, first one is this big monstrous philodendron. This philodendron has been wish I could move this camera a little bit more up. Yes, I can. So this philodendron has been doing much better now that I bring it often, or every week I bring it and I water it thoroughly with the tap water. The thing is that this does have a little bit of slow release in it, and it does cause problems with the pH because it's not living in nature where it can get flushed out. And it really does help it to grow better. And as time goes on, this is probably the second or third year it's been in the pot, the leaves do get a little smaller as it's growing along. That's natural, but it is healthy. I'll show you right down here. You can see it does dangle down quite a way. So first we'll give it the lukewarm water. This is what makes it happy, so continue with it. I don't want to give it a bath. I could. Be drinking water everywhere, that's the problem. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wash down the leaves this time. Yep. And we all know why we do that. Why do you wash down your leaves? Because it gets rid of the dust and it helps the plant get maximum photosynthesis. It puts out a burst of growth too. And leaves are, what makes leaves so attractive and everything is they are designed by nature to put up with exposure. Exposure is what makes them develop these amazing leaf patterns and shapes and teardrops at the end of the leaves, and if they have hairs on them or not, if they're waxy and shiny, they all have these mechanisms in place to help them to get rid of water off their foliage. Because they actually don't want it to settle on the leaves for too long. They want to be able to. They want it to be able to trickle off. Okay. It's always handy to have a hose like that. This rose head hose on the tap. It's a shoulder workout because we've got to hold it up with one arm. And it does have a reservoir on the bottom that collects water. Here comes the good water. There's a little bit of liquid feed in it, just a little. Also is the dechlorinizer. It goes in to make the roots happy. If you have got a severe pH problem and your pH is getting very acidic, so it's dropping down to 4.5 to 4 on the pH, use dolomite lime. It's recommended for plants, not the stuff that they use for in the building companies or anything like that. Don't use that kind of stuff, but use the correct product of dolomite lime, and it contains magnesium. Not only that, it brings the soil pH back to neutral, which is good for just about every single plant, because fertilizers tend to do that. Okay, shake, shake, shake. This one's going to go and dangle in the other sink in the bathroom so that it can drip dry a little bit. And this one is done. So it is happy and watered. Yep. I'm going to be going and getting the next plant. So we'll be back very soon. In case you're wondering if the floor got wet while I moved that plant, I do have a cloth on the floor, a floor cloth that I push along with my foot to clean up any drips. And this sink does have a net in it. It is a net that catches debris, so nothing gets into the drain. It's safe. This one is Hoya Carnusa Hindu rope. This is its latest growth that I put out, and I put that out pretty quickly after bringing it to the sink, and I flush it out first. That seems to keep the pH a happy pH. As I said before, dolomite lime every now and then added to the water, and it's put out this new growth. There's a peduncle that did flower amazingly, and it is a bit washed out on one side because one year, a few years back, there was a lot of sunshine that came through the window, and it was a little bit too much, but it's no problem for it. In actual fact, sometimes makes it flower better. So we are going to give it a good soaking. Now this one I got to hold it with my teeth, a hook. Well, I took it. Like so. And now put some good water in. And if I do run out of time because I can't water everything, I'll just do it after dinner, before bed, early hours of the morning. It really doesn't matter. Whenever I have a moment, I just water something that needs water. So I'm not like watering everything on one single day, because once you get to these cooler seasons, autumn and going into winter and those kind of months, you are making a mistake to water everything at the same time, because a lot of your plants have, well, as you saw that Phalaenopsis that didn't require any water. So I just put it in my mental, my memory bank in my brain. I'll remember to get back to it. So that one's all watered and happy, and I've had this for many years now. Oh, gosh. 6 years, even longer, 6 or 7 years. Whoops. I go through all the trouble putting sticky traps in. Little piece of sticky trap cut off and put in the plant. Doesn't take any effort, no more extra work, and it just catches the odd fungus gnat that might be flying around. And if you do that, that's the secret to eradicating your fungus gnats. So they have a little cut piece of sticky trap like that. You do have to go around and replace them every couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. And that's your preventative. Even if you get 1 or 2, they're not going to escape the sticky trap. And then you won't have any. But as soon as you get rid of all your sticky traps, they'll be back again. For sure. And another thing is that fungus gnats are not very good indicators of plants that have root rot. If you have a lot of fungus gnats buzzing around a pot, 2 things. Number 1 is it has root rot, for sure. Number 2 is the planting medium has got a lot of compost in it, so I wouldn't recommend using compost for your indoor plants. You should use a well-draining mix, even though that it might not be something that they naturally grow in. Or you could use akadama, which is a red sticky, well, not sticky, but it's kind of like soil, a red clay rock that is like soil. You can actually break it between your fingers, and you can use a soft pumice, and it's called kanuma. So you use those kind of things, and they make happy plants too. Maybe if you got calatheas or something like that, that would be good for them. But definitely keep away from compost, stuff that's still that's still in the process of rotting. Yeah. The fungus nets can help you out sometimes. I know that I've had fungus nets buzzing around one pot, quite a lot of them, and I thought, well, there must be something wrong. Why are they just buzzing around that pot? And they actually indicated to me that there was root rot in there. Yeah, okay. So that is Hoya carnosa Hindu rope that I've had for 7 years, growing in a nice sunny window. And it's a pot within a pot that has chunks of pumice in the bottom. So if there's times where I don't have enough time to take it to the sink to water it, I can water it from the top, and the pumice will soak up anything that's flushing out of the inner pot where the plant's planted, and that will dry up. You know, it won't cause any root rot. So that's a good thing to have, is to have an inner pot with pumice in the bottom. I mean pumice stones, like big chunks. It'll prevent you from overwatering, and even if the water does collect in there, it'll be safe. Yes. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, while we're doing this repot, I should introduce to you some other houseplants that I have, because I don't usually do this. I usually show the same things. And this is Rhipsalis. Pilocarpa or Pilocarpa. And it has, there's no mistaking that this is a cactus, because it still retains its cactus-like features with its rounded long stems and the bristly spines that are actually harmless. They won't penetrate your skin. And it is an epiphyte that grows in jungles, and could be Mexico or Brazil, not quite sure now. But it is one of the hardiest, or the easiest to grow for me. So it is in this glass here. The reason why I put it in the glass is that it looks neat. And number 2, it has a function, and that's to keep some humidity. Because as we get into the winter here, humidity drops quite low, but it does give off some humidity. It is still in its planter, and that is peat moss. However, when I checked the roots and everything and gave it a chance, just staying in that medium, it's doing exceptionally well, so there's no need to dig it out and plant it on. In actual fact, it comes from very mossy, humid jungles, and it would get quite a lot of rain often, and being an epiphyte, it means that it's not an epiphyte that actually grows stuck on a tree like a Vanda or a Phalaenopsis or a Cattleya. It's not that kind of epiphyte. It's one that grows in little forks in the trees and in amongst moss, where the moss will actually hold a certain amount of water after each rain. So keeping that in mind, this is doing very well and healthy, and it is very easy to grow, and it and it fits in a nice little niche in your indoor jungle. So I recommend growing this as a little fill-in plant here and there. And it does hang up let's see, the frame of the window. So it's not in the way at all, and it's a nice fill-in because you've got to have all those little tiny interesting plants in between all of your larger ones to make your indoor home jungle look like a real jungle and interesting. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, this is a true epiphyte, and it is native to Africa, Angræcum distichum. You can see here that it has these disticus leaves, and they're kind of terete, and they're folded onto themselves, so it's like a leaf that's folded over like a taco, and they're quite succulent. And they remind me of scales, dragon scales. So there's this very neat looking growth pattern. It is growing in sphagnum, and this sphagnum is actually dead, of course, as you know, but it does have mosses that are actually starting to grow on the surface here, now that it's in the cooler season, which is fine. It has branched a lot on this side. There's 3 new branches. I'm still waiting for, actually with little growth on the top here. This one I water when it gets dry. I bring it down to the tap and with the rose head. Take a shower, and I shower it thoroughly, and then I give it the good water that I have in the bottle there. And being in the sphagnum moss, it suits it quite well. Keeps in some moisture. It's also got maximum airflow, being in a basket like that, so no worries of root rot. But I would be worried that this could have root rot if you couldn't see inside the pot. If you did pot it with sphagnum moss, in that case you would fill the pot 3/4 with styrofoam or polystyrene chips, and you would only fill an inch, just an inch of sphagnum moss, and then plant it in there. Do not fill all the way down with sphagnum moss. And the reason for that is you want to be able to come over and put your finger in it, and the moss should better only be this deep, right up to the second joint of my finger. So when all that is feeling dry, and water it again. I'll tell you what, you have it right down to the bottom and it's carrying moisture down there, and you don't see it, and you keep watering it, you're going to get rot. Being an orchid, they do not like having their roots wet all the time. They like it dry out and to get wet again. Right, let's have a look at something doing really well these days. Is this Hoya Crimson Princess. I keep saying Crimson Queen, but it does have it has this long shoot that's gone right up like that. You can see it, how tall it is there. Ooh. Look at that. It's been growing, and it has 2 cuttings of the main plant that got root rot and died. The reason why it got root rot and died is letting it dry right out, bone dry, and then leaving it for a week or 2 when it's bone dry, and then the roots die. They die, and then you water it, and and then all those roots turn into like a compost and start rotting. So this one has the reservoir here that does have an inch of water. I just shine a torch down there from my phone, and if I see that it's starting to dry up, I just put a little bit more. However, I got to bring it to the sink because it's growing in bark and pumice, and as we know, when you grow something in bark and pumice, even if you water into the reservoir, it won't soak all of the medium. It won't wet at all. It'll just only concern the roots that are dangling down into the reservoir, and that doesn't really stimulate growth. What stimulates growth is a good shower. This is what does it. With that whole medium. Also drain it. It does have slow release in there, but it's just like something like 5 to 6 little granules, not too much. And then you top it up with the good water now that it's nice and thoroughly wet. That's about right. Never fear about having a reservoir and having water in it. It won't rot the plant. It is actually beneficial for it. Makes it happier, makes a happier root system. And being a mix that's pumice and bark, there's no chance it's going to rot. It's got a lot of airflow. Just make sure that when you bring it to the sink, you do thoroughly water it to moisten and wet all the medium. They might be drying out in places that you can't moisten from the reservoir. And then give it the good water again, and away it goes. You can see all this neat growth on it. Even has a, look at the size of that leaf. Happy plant. Anyway, we'll get on with the next. Another thing about this Hoya Crimson Princess is that I've had it in this pot for years and years. 4 years. Over 4 years. There's not a chance at all that I'm ever going to have to repot it because of those things I've been talking about. Alright, so if I start getting yellowing leaves and I see salt all along the edge of this pot here and I get yellowing leaves, that just tells me that the pH is going off because of the fertilizers leaving a lot of salt, and it's making the pH drop down to 4 or lower. And what am I going to do? Use dolomite lime. But in the case you don't wait that long. You always add it into the water, right? Just a little bit. And if you do have orchids, I tend to just scoop it out in a little scoop and just sprinkle it on the surface. It doesn't hurt the plant at all. It actually corrects the pH, makes the soil sweet, so the plant can keep taking up those great nutrients and have a nice balanced little ecosystem of microorganisms, right? Beneficial bacteria in the soil, and the plant will last for years and years and years in the pot. That is the goal, because not least we forget that plants don't repot themselves in nature, right? What determines their success is the amount of processing going on in the soil around them. The rainfall, the exchange of nutrients. This is what keeps the soil healthy. And it's true, yes, Hoya is like a nice small confined pot. It does make them happy, but however they can be sad in a confined pot if their watering is not correct. So you don't need to go into. You can actually use your eyeball, your eye, as your best thing. So your eye is your best thing, checking for the pH. It's all in the leaves, the growth. As I mentioned before, salt building up on the top. This doesn't have any salts building up on the top because once a week it gets that good flush out. That flush out is really more important than I've ever thought. And this plant is just growing so well. Look at that. Look at these big leaves. Very happy. Anyway. Okay, next up is this let's see. It's nearly 6 foot tall. So I'm going to stretch my arm right up. So I just gave away a secret. How short I am. Gotta lift this right up to be able to take it through the house. It's Peperomia Hope. It started off as a small cutting. The main plant I gave to a friend years ago. And it has grown into this beast of a thing. It does have a little salt build up on the rim. And I have been flushing it out. Now, a little bit water. There we go. Drain it. Give it some of this good water. There we go, and then drain that. What I noticed about Peperomia Hope is even in the hot tropical summers we have here, I can't leave any water in the reservoir. It seems to like to be thoroughly soaked and then to start drying out day by day after that. But leaving any water in the reservoir so that it is kept as moist as it is now in this condition seems to cause rot. So it's kind of sensitive to having any water around the roots after it's been watered. So I don't know why. That's just the way it is. It's unlike the Hoyas that actually love the water in the reservoir and producing water, roots that go down into it. This plant does not like it one bit. So once it's soaked, I let it dry. This is what it likes. This is how it likes to grow, actually. So a lot of you might have this and call it a great house plant, and I'm having so much success because it's so easy. I just water it and leave it alone. Well, that's because of its natural habit of liking some water and to dry out again, which makes it easy as a house plant, doesn't it? But in my case, I just got to bring it to the sink because salts build up, and I got to have fertilizer. If I don't have it, right, all the new growth will get smaller and weaker and lose its vitality. It won't be thick and healthy and green and have these nice thick stems. All of this will go away in time. Okay, so that one is done. I'm going to bring the Phalaenopsis, one of my biggest ones. I'll be back in a minute. Maybe the the battery's gonna stop soon. But this is a fowl that I got as a gift from a customer's Rendemar. She said, I got Phalaenopsis. I'm going to bring some in for you. And I thought, it's okay. At that time I didn't really know anything about them. I just knew that there was something I'd look at and I'd leave in the store. But I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. She brought this one in and 2 others. And of course I did lose them. She had them growing in sphagnum moss, and I thought the right thing to do is to give them a good soaking. So I did, and then all this fungus broke out, white fungus, and it attacked the whole thing, killed them. And this one got attacked, and then I learnt about hydrogen peroxide, and I did the treatment, and I repotted it, and it was sick for years. And as it recovered into this magnificent specimen, it is truly magnificent for an indoor Phalaenopsis. These leaves are enormous. Look at that. And it's on the lean. However, I prefer them like this because it displays its natural habit of growth, which makes me feel like I'm in a real jungle setting. I'm growing it naturally. This is how I like it. So I feel happy to let it grow naturally how it wants, and plenty of aerial roots. This pot has a lot of holes in it to let the air through, so it's very airy, and it's in a very airy mix. It is sphagnum with bark. And I do water this one every week because it has a massive root system and it dries right out thoroughly. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a good soak now. I even see that it has its buds coming along. I'm going to point with my finger. There is a sign that buds are coming, one there and one there. Yep. So all that kerfuffle downstairs of the mother-in-law. What can I say? It's like the whole world has to stop. You know, because she wants to do something. It's like, okay, we get it, alright? We're going to have lunch, fine. But, man, she's bossy. Heck. She wanted my son to go along, but he sneaked out the door and escaped. Yeah, it's really noisy. Gosh. So just, you know, say what you want to do. We said yes, okay, that's fine, yeah. Okay, that's enough. Okay, you don't need to go on and on and on. That's what scares people away. Doing on and on and on like a broken record. Okay, give it a nice good soak. Remember the foam I just cut off. The battery is quite low. The same thing as I told you before, give it a good soak because the medium has got chunks of bark in it and that, and you need to be able to soak the whole thing. If I do get anything in the crown, I use a tissue to dab inside those little nooks and crannies. This is a sign of one of very few signs that I'm actually good at growing. I know I don't have a lot, but I have to contend with a lot of other things, as I do a lot of you viewers out there that are watching me now. You know what I mean? Weather. environment and stuff like that, right? Also plays a part in how healthy your plants are or not, which can make you look like that you don't know what you're doing. But for this particular plant, it does have this cloth up here. It's the one I drew down over it because during the winter inside that room it'll drop down to 10 degrees, which is a little bit too low for the fowl. And the window is like right next to it. It gets too cold for it, see? And it doesn't kill it, or actually it doesn't set it back or anything, but if it gets like below 5 degrees and the leaf tips can go black. So I just drop that cloth over. It's easy. I just push it over and it just droops over the leaves, and then I just tuck it back up in the morning. However, the temperatures have been good. Today is a max of 20 degrees. So it's a warm November. This one spent its whole life inside. And I will take it as a compliment if somebody says, "Wow, where did you buy that?" That's a compliment when somebody says that. "Oh, where did you buy that?" Right? Yes. As I've been talking about before, semi-hydro, where you have your plants in a cache pot with water. Of course you can grow them like that, but you need to have a heating system so that you can keep the temperature about 15 degrees at night, and you want to be able to get that temperature up to about 22, 23, 25 would be even more ideal, and your cache pot will work. But if you've got unheated rooms like I do, and it gets down to 10, right? Or if you have continuous days where the temperature doesn't really get up very high, maybe get a maximum of 15, and it drops down to 10 again, then the cache pot will not work. It'll kill the roots. Being inside in a sunny room during the day, even in the winter, it'll get up to 20. Overcast, it may never get above 10 on those days. So just remember, if you want to do semi-hydro, you got to have a heating system. All right, it's the temperature. However, when we have those temperatures that got over 35 degrees, and you could read it indoors, this plant started to suffer. It showed it on one of its leaves, and so I used this cloth again. This cloth came in handy to droop over it, which kept it cooler and kept any intrusive direct sunlight that may happen to go its way, which you don't know because the sun moves around quite a bit. During July, August and September, the height of the sun, how high it is in the sky or how low it drops, can drastically change from week to week. So drooping this cloth off protected it, kept it nice and happy. And it has beautiful large-sized Phalaenopsis, the maximum, the very large blooming one. Yeah. So I do see a little bit in the bottom there, and I'll just use tissue. Hang on. However, there's roots in there that can drink it up. We'll just do the right thing. And I do have a fan going. You must have fans going for your indoor plants. You can't have stagnant air. I know when it gets to winter, we'll be putting the fan away, so we'll have to rely on opening the windows to let air in. But all the other times of the year, the fan goes all the time. So this is something that shows that shows that I'm a good grower. It's all proof right here. Okay. Thanks for joining me on this watering day, and I hope you enjoyed watching and everything, and if you have any comments, leave me some. I'm always happy to talk about plants with anybody, and if you have anything that you want to teach me about your own plants, just share some information. I'm always happy to share stuff. Share it, yes, so that you can grow your plants better, and then we can all be happy growers. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.